Maya was just 25 years old, but life had already made her feel much older. She worked at a small diner, located at the edge of a rich neighborhood. The building wasn't fancy, just a place with wooden floors, squeaky chairs, and the smell of pancakes and coffee in the air. But Maya made it warm. She wasn't just any waitress. She smiled at everyone, remembered people's names, asked about their day, and never let anyone feel invisible. Customers liked her not because she was fast, but because she made them feel seen every morning. She tied her hair up, put on her plain work uniform, and tucked a small photo of her younger sister Amina into her pocket. It was a reminder of why she worked so hard. Amina was only 17 and had big dreams. Maya had promised their parents before they passed away in a road accident that she would take care of her no matter what. It was not easy, rent was high, bills were never ending, and she worked extra shifts just to afford Amina's school fees and books. But Maya never complained. She had no time for complaints. One gray afternoon, the sky looked heavy with clouds. The wind was loud outside, and the diner had fewer customers than usual. Maya was wiping down a table when she saw the door open and a tall man walk in, gently pushing a wheelchair. Sitting in it was a small boy with glasses and big, curious eyes. Maya's eyes met the boy's first. She smiled. The boy didn't smile back, but he didn't look away either. The man looked tired but calm. He wore a plain coat, his hair neatly combed. There was something quiet about him, like he wasn't used to talking much. He looked around the diner, chose a corner table, and rolled the wheelchair into position. Maya walked over with her usual warmth. "Hi there," she said softly, kneeling a little so she was at eye level with the boy. "I love your glasses. You look like a little professor." The boy blinked. Still no smile, but something in his eyes changed, like a tiny door had opened. The man gave a slight nod. "Thank you," he said. "His name is Leo." "Hi, Leo. I'm Maya. I'll be your waitress today, but I make good friends too." The man watched closely. Most people didn't talk to Leo like that. They talked to him, the father, and avoided eye contact with Leo. But Maya didn't look uncomfortable at all. She spoke to Leo like he was any other boy, not someone in a wheelchair. Maya handed them menus, gave a few suggestions, and then walked back toward the counter. She didn't know who the man was. She didn't know that she had just met one of the richest people in the country, Daniel Blake, a billionaire in the tech world. Daniel was known for staying away from the spotlight. After his wife died during childbirth, he raised Leo alone. Leo was born with a neurological condition that affected his movement and speech. Though he could understand everything, talking was difficult for him. And walking was something doctors said might never happen. Daniel had tried everything: private therapists, doctors, specialized programs, but nothing truly brought joy to Leo's face. That's why they were here today, just trying to do something ordinary. Daniel had driven them far away from the city, away from the media, to a quiet little place where maybe, just maybe, Leo could enjoy something simple like pancakes at a diner as they sat and ate. Maya checked in every now and then. She refilled their drinks, brought napkins, and even drew a little smiley face on Leo's pancake with whipped cream and chocolate chips. She didn't do it for a tip. She always did things like that for kids. Leo stared at the face on his pancake, and for the first time in a while, he let out a small giggle. It was so soft, Daniel almost missed it. Maya didn't miss it, though. She caught it and smiled wider than ever. "See? Professor Leo likes pancakes," she said playfully. Leo's head dipped a little, his version of a shy nod. Daniel was still quiet. But something was happening inside him. For years, he had lived a double life, one as the powerful CEO who controlled empires, and the other as a lonely father who couldn't seem to make his son happy. But here, in this old diner, a waitress had done something none of his millions could before leaving. Daniel tried to tip Maya generously. She politely refused. "I do this for everyone," she said with a light laugh. "But thank you." Daniel smiled a little, the first smile Maya saw from him. He gently wheeled Leo out, but before they reached the door, Leo turned his head back and looked at Maya. Their eyes met again, And this time, Leo lifted one hand and waved. Maya waved back with both hands, laughing. "Bye, Leo. Come back soon." That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about that small moment, Leo's giggle, the smiley pancake, the wave. It wasn't much, but to him, it was everything. He began to think, what made that woman different? She had no medical degree, no training, and yet somehow, she connected with Leo in a way no one else did. A few days passed. The weather cleared. Daniel looked at Leo and asked, "Do you want to go back to that diner?" Leo nodded slowly. That was all the answer Daniel needed. The second time they came, Maya saw them from across the room and lit up like a candle. I shelled over, full of excitement. "My favorite professor is back," she said. This time, Leo smiled a little still. Small, but more open than before. As she took their orders and chatted, Maya noticed something different. The man Daniel wasn't just watching Leo anymore. He was watching her too, quietly, not in a bad way, but in a way that made her wonder if something was on his mind. During that meal, Daniel asked her some questions. Nothing personal at first, just small talk. Did she always work here? Did she like kids? Maya answered openly. She told him she worked 6 days a week, sometimes double shifts. She said she loved kids and once dreamed of being a teacher, but college became impossible after her parents passed. She had to step up for her younger sister. Daniel didn't react much. He just listened and took mental notes. By the end of their meal, Leo had grown more comfortable. Maya even taught him how to stack syrup bottles like building blocks. For the first time, Leo clapped his hands and laughed out loud. The sound was like music. That night, Daniel made a decision. He would keep bringing Leo back, not because of the food, not because of the place, but because of Maya. She didn't treat Leo like a burden or a project. She saw him. She really saw him. And somehow that made Leo see himself differently too. Every visit became a little brighter. Maya would prepare their favorite table. She'd bring small paper puzzles for Leo. She'd even draw comic characters on the napkins and make jokes that only Leo understood. With every visit, Leo got a bit more expressive, using more gestures, just making more sounds, and connecting more with the world. Maya had no idea what was building in Daniel's heart. She didn't know the impact she was making. For her, she was just being kind, as she always was. But for Daniel, something extraordinary was happening. He was watching his son come back to life, and he was watching the woman who made it possible by now. Daniel had learned more about Maya. He noticed the tiredness in her eyes, the way she rubbed her wrists when no one was looking, the way she glanced at her phone, always worried, probably about her sister. Yet she never brought that tiredness into her work. She stayed strong, bright, and giving. One morning before they visited the diner, Daniel knelt beside Leo. "Do you like Maya?" he asked gently. Leo nodded. A strong nod this time. "Do you feel safe with her?" Another nod. Even stronger. Daniel closed his eyes for a moment. The answer confirmed what he had already decided. Maya was more than just a good person. She was rare, and soon she was going to find out just how much her kindness would change her life. But for now, she had no idea. She was still just the kind. Waitress smiling through the struggle. Laughing with a child no one else knew how to reach, she was still unaware that the quiet man who sat in the corner was not just a father, he was a billionaire. And he was watching, not to judge, but to find hope, and in Maya he had found it. It had become a routine now. Every Thursday afternoon, Daniel would bring his son Leo to the small diner where Maya worked. The staff had started to notice the pattern, but no one made a big deal out of it. Maya always seemed happiest when Leo came in. The quiet little boy had slowly started opening up, not with words, but with his eyes, his small smiles. And the way he leaned toward Maya when she came near. Daniel continued to stay silent during most of their visits. He watched, listened, and noticed things that others didn't. He saw how Maya treated every customer with the same kindness. She didn't change her tone depending on how someone looked or what they ordered. Whether it was a tired truck driver or a rich man in a suit, she gave everyone her best. But there was something special in how she treated Leo. She didn't rush him, didn't speak too loudly or too softly. She understood his rhythm. She matched it. Leo, on the other hand, had begun to wait for Thursdays. It was the one day he smiled. In the morning, without being asked, he would pick out his favorite sweater and sit by the window until it was time to go. Daniel noticed how Leo's posture had changed. His shoulders were no longer slumped. He sat straighter. Even his therapists had commented that he seemed more alert and emotionally responsive. One Thursday, it was raining heavily. Thunder rolled in the sky, and puddles were forming outside the diner. Business was slow. Maya was cleaning up after the lunch rush when she saw them. Daniel, in his dark coat, pushing Leo through the door. Both were a little wet from the rain, but their expressions were calm. Maya rushed forward with a towel in hand. "Look at you two," she said, smiling. "Rain warriors." She dried Leo's glasses and gently patted down his sleeves. Leo gave her a quiet look of appreciation, then smiled, a soft, crooked little smile that made Maya's heart feel full. "I saved your table," Maya said, "and guess what? I made something special today. It's not on the menu." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "A secret dish?" Maya grinned. "Only for VIPs like you." As they settled in, the diner stayed mostly quiet. There were only two other customers in the back. Maya brought out warm cocoa and a plate of pancakes shaped like animals. Leo's eyes lit up. "I tried to make a giraffe, but it looks more like a horse," Maya laughed. Leo giggled, real, open giggle. It echoed softly in the diner. Daniel watched closely. Every giggle, every glance toward. Maya told him something deep was happening inside his son. Leo, who used to avoid strangers and hide behind his father's leg, now leaned forward with interest. He touched the pancakes carefully, smiled at the chocolate chips, and glanced at Maya like she was some kind of magician. Maya walked away for a moment to check on another table. As she passed by the kitchen, someone accidentally knocked over a metal tray. It crashed onto the tiled floor with a loud, sharp bang. The sound echoed like a clap of thunder in that instant. Leo froze. His hands trembled. Then suddenly he tried to stand. It was pure fear. The noise had shocked him, and his body reacted before his mind could stop it. His legs were weak. He hadn't stood on his own in years. He tried to push himself up from the wheelchair, but his legs buckled immediately. Everything happened so fast. Daniel dropped his fork. "Leo," he shouted, jumping up from his seat. But Maya moved quicker. She saw Leo beginning to fall forward, head first, and without thinking twice, she rushed from the other side of the diner. Her legs sprinted over the wet floor. Her hands reached out. Just in time, she caught him, right before he hit the ground. Maya wrapped her arms around him and gently pulled him into her lap. Leo's body was shaking. He was scared and embarrassed. He made a small noise, somewhere between a cry and a gasp. "Hi." Maya held him tight. "It's okay, sweetheart. You're safe. I've got you." She sat on the floor with him cradled. In her arms like a baby, her hands stroked his hair. Her voice was calm, soft, like a lullaby. Daniel knelt beside them. His heart was pounding. But Maya's calmness was stronger than any panic in the room. "It was just a noise, Leo," she whispered. "Just a silly noise. But I'm here. Nothing's going to happen to you, okay?" Leo didn't speak. He just buried his face into Maya's chest and held onto her shirt with both tiny hands. The diner had gone completely silent. The few customers, they were watching, shocked by what they'd just witnessed. But Maya didn't care. Her focus was fully on the little boy in her arms. Daniel couldn't take his eyes off them. He had seen nurses, therapists, even specialists try to calm Leo after a panic episode. They used techniques, tools, breathing exercises. None of them ever worked this fast. None of them ever held him like this. It wasn't science. It was love. After a few minutes, Leo's breathing slowed. His grip loosened. His head rested gently against Maya's shoulder. Maya looked up at Daniel with a soft smile. "He's okay now," she said. Daniel nodded, his throat tight. He didn't trust himself to speak. Together, they gently lifted Leo back into his wheelchair. Maya wiped his face with a warm towel and gave him a sip of cocoa. Daniel took out his wallet and tried again to tip Maya, more than ever this time. But she shook her head. "Please," she said. "I didn't do it for money. I care about him, that's all." Daniel looked at her for a long moment. There was so much he wanted to say, but he didn't know how. Instead, he simply said, "Thank you." That evening, as rain poured down outside, Daniel sat alone in his office. He had just put Leo to bed. The boy had fallen asleep faster than usual, small smile still on his face. Daniel stared at a photo on his desk. An old picture of his late wife holding newborn Leo in her arms. She had that same warmth Maya had, that same look in her eyes. When she held someone fragile, someone innocent, he thought about the moment Maya caught Leo, the way she didn't hesitate, the way she whispered to him like he was her own. It wasn't just the act of catching him physically. She had caught his heart. Daniel remembered how helpless he had felt during that moment. How, even as a billionaire with access to every expert and resource, he couldn't stop Leo from falling, but Maya could, and she did. The next morning, Daniel made a decision. He was going to find out more about her, not because he didn't trust her, but because he needed to understand the kind of person who could give so much without asking for anything in return. He made a few calls, hired someone to look into her background. The report came back quickly. Parents died in a tragic car crash when she was 20. She dropped out of college to raise her younger sister. She worked 2 jobs, no debts, no criminal record, no complaints from anyone, just glowing reviews. From coworkers and customers, a quiet hero in an apron. He thought about how Maya smiled every time she saw Leo, how she always had something new to share, a joke, a drawing, a little game. He thought about how Leo had clung to her after the fall, not to him, not to a doctor, but to Maya. That meant something. The next time they came to the diner, everything was back to normal. Maya greeted them like usual. "Welcome back, my favorite." "Guys," Leo smiled wide. Daniel smiled too. They ate, laughed, played a silly game with paper napkins. But something unspoken passed between Daniel and Maya that day. A look of respect, a look of trust as they were leaving. Leo turned to Maya and reached out his small hand. She knelt down and held it. "I'm glad you came today," she said. Leo looked into her eyes. Then, in a slow, quiet voice, he said something no one expected. "Thank you." 2 simple words. 2 words Maya had never heard from him before. Daniel gasped. His mouth fell open. Leo hadn't spoken a full sentence to anyone outside of his therapy sessions in years. Tears filled Maya's eyes. "You're welcome, sweetheart," she said, holding back her emotions. Daniel knew, at that very moment, something had changed. Forever. This woman, the waitress, the stranger, had somehow reached a part of Leo that no doctor, no expert, no amount of money could touch. And he knew one more thing, too. He had to do something for her. Not out of charity, but out of gratitude. She didn't just catch his son that day. She caught his heart. And soon she was going to learn what that moment. It started because Daniel Blake, billionaire and father, had made up his mind. He was going to change Maya's life forever. After the day Leo spoke his first real words to Maya, things began to change. The bond between them had grown stronger than anyone expected. It was no longer just about pancakes, drawings, or napkin animals. There was something real, something unspoken but deep between Maya and Leo. Maya treated him like a person, not a patient. She believed in him, and Leo felt it. Daniel Blake, who once kept himself distant and silent, now looked at Maya differently. He saw her as more than just the kind waitress who helped his son. He began to see her as someone rare, someone whose soul was lit by a kindness that money could not buy. Daniel continued bringing Leo every Thursday, but now he stayed longer. Sometimes after the meal, he would ask Maya questions while Leo played. Nearby, at first, they were small questions. Then they became deeper. What made you want to be a teacher? he asked one day. Maya wiped her hands on her apron and smiled. I've always loved helping people learn. When I was a kid, I used to line up teddy bears and teach them ABCs. I even made my little sister pretend she was in school. Daniel chuckled softly. And now, she said with a shrug. Now I teach life lessons to syrup bottles and wipe tables for tips. There was no bitterness in her voice, just quiet acceptance. Daniel leaned forward. What stopped you from becoming one? Maya hesitated, but then answered honestly. After our parents died, I had no choice. My sister Amina was only 13. She needed someone. School felt like a luxury, so I worked. And I've been working ever since. Daniel listened carefully. Every detail painted a clearer picture of Maya's life. Wasn't just good-hearted. Was brave, responsible, selfless. She never asked for help, even when life threw mountains at her. Another time, Daniel asked, "What would you do if money wasn't a problem?" Maya laughed. I've never thought about that. Go back to college, get my teaching degree. Maybe open a small learning center for kids who don't fit in the usual school system. Especially kids like Leo. Daniel smiled quietly. That answer told him everything. Leo, on the other hand, was growing more and more attached to Maya. His therapists reported huge improvements. He was more vocal, more cooperative, more expressive. They asked Daniel what had changed. Daniel only said one word: Maya. One afternoon, as Maya cleared dishes from their table, Leo tugged at Daniel's sleeve. "Daddy," he said softly, "can Maya come to my birthday?" Daniel blinked. "Your birthday?" Leo nodded. "I don't want party clowns. I want Maya." Daniel looked at Maya, who had overheard the last part. She smiled gently. "I'd love to come," she said. "Your dad is okay with it?" Daniel nodded, though inside he was deeply moved. His son, who once avoided people, now wanted Maya at one of the most important events in his year. And not as a helper, as a guest, as a friend. Later that week, Daniel sent a private driver to pick Maya up. Didn't want her taking a bus. She wore a simple blue dress, her hair braided loosely, and carried a small gift for Leo, a book of hand-drawn comics she had made herself. Each comic had a superhero who looked just like Leo, saving the day using his mind, not his legs. When she walked into the estate Daniel's mansion hidden behind tall gates, she stopped in her tracks. The place was huge. The gardens were bigger than the park near her apartment. The house had marble floors, glass staircases, and walls full of art. Daniel met her at the door, smiling. "I hope it's not too much. It's beautiful," Maya said, amazed, "and also a little scary." Daniel laughed. "Don't be scared. You're the most important guest here." The party wasn't filled with rich people or celebrities. It was simple, small, and made just for Leo. There were puzzles, painting stations, soft music, and Leo's favorite, story time. But the highlight came when Daniel announced that Maya would be reading the first comic book she had created for. Maya sat in a large chair while Leo and a few kids gathered around. She opened the book and began to read. Once upon a time, in a city full of tall towers and loud noise, there lived a quiet boy named Leo. But Leo wasn't ordinary. No, Leo had a superpower. He could solve any problem with his big brain and kind heart, ... Leo's eyes sparkled. By the end of the story, Leo was hugging Maya, his face glowing with joy. Daniel watched from a distance, standing near the fireplace. One of his friends walked up and said, "Your son looks happy." Daniel nodded. "He is. I haven't seen him this lively in years. Who is she?" Daniel answered without hesitation. "She's the reason he's smiling." After the party, Daniel offered to drive Maya home. On the way, they spoke more honestly than ever. "Why did you really invite me?" Maya asked. "I mean, a birthday party at a billionaire's mansion?" Daniel smiled at the road. "Because Leo wanted you there? And I did too." She looked at him, confused. "You've given him something no doctor could. You made him feel seen, loved, free. Do you have any idea how rare that is?" Maya blushed slightly. "I'm just doing what anyone would do." "No," Daniel said firmly. "Not anyone. Most people don't even try. You caught him, Maya, that day in the diner. Not just his body, you caught his trust, his soul. And you held it gently. The car went quiet for a moment, then Daniel added, and you changed me too. Maya turned to him, unsure how to respond. Daniel parked the car near her apartment building. I want to show you something, he said. He handed her a folder. Inside were documents, a college enrollment form, an apartment lease in her name. Work offer as a private emotional and learning guide for Leo. Maya blinked, not understanding. What is this? She asked, her voice soft. It's a chance, Daniel said. A real one. I want to sponsor your education fully. I bought a safer apartment closer to campus. I want to hire you officially as Leo's emotional development guide. Time. So you still have time to study. You'd help him with schoolwork, routines, and continue being the light in his life. Maya stared at the papers, stunned. Why? She whispered. Why would you do all this? Daniel looked at her gently. Because you gave me my son back. Maya's eyes filled with tears. No one had ever done something like this for her. Not because they pitied her, but because they believed in her. I don't know what to say, she whispered. Say yes, Daniel replied. Do it for yourself, for your sister, for all the kids out there waiting for someone like you. She shook her head slowly, smiling through tears. I need to think. Daniel nodded. Of course, take your time. There's no pressure. This isn't charity. It's gratitude. Maya walked into her small apartment that night and sat quietly with her sister. She told her everything about Daniel, Leo, the job, the school, the new apartment, her sister. Amina was shocked at first, then overwhelmed with emotion. You always take care of me, Amina said. Maybe now it's time someone takes care of you. Maya looked at the folder again. She thought about the little boy with glasses who had once been afraid to speak. She thought about the way he smiled when she was near, and finally, she made her decision. The next morning, Maya stood outside. The diner in the morning sun, the air smelled like coffee and wet sidewalks. Daniel's car pulled up quietly. Maya stepped forward, a folded paper in her hand. He rolled down the window. I thought about it, she said. And she unfolded the paper. It was the signed work. Agreement. Daniel smiled wide. You said yes. I did, Maya replied. But not for the apartment, not even for the money. Then why? He asked. For Leo, she said. Because I believe he can do more. And because I believe I can too. Daniel nodded, deeply moved. Maya had once been just a waitress now. She was about to begin a new chapter. Not because luck found her, but because love, honesty, and kindness opened a door that money alone never could. And through that door, her whole world was about to change. After Maya accepted Daniel's generous offer, her life began to change in ways she had never imagined. At first, it all felt like a dream. She had a place to call her own, a small apartment near the city university, where she could finally focus on the teaching degree she had put aside for so long. The rent was paid, the bills were covered, and the constant worry about money that had shadowed her. Every day started to fade, but the biggest change wasn't the apartment or the school. It was the new role she stepped into, working closely with Leo, helping him learn, grow, find his own way, in a world that wasn't built for him. Daniel had arranged everything carefully. Maya wasn't just a waitress anymore. She was an official part of Leo's team. She met with doctors, therapists, and specialists to understand Leo's needs better. Daniel wanted Maya to have all the support she needed, and he made sure she had access to the best resources. Maya's days became full but meaningful. She spent mornings in her classes absorbing everything she could about special education and child development. Afternoons were dedicated to Leo. They worked together on exercises, puzzles, and activities designed to help Leo gain more control over his movements and speech. But Maya didn't stop there. She also taught Leo to have fun. They played games that made him laugh, drew pictures that told stories, even danced sometimes in the living room, moving to slow music. Leo's smile grew wider and more frequent. His eyes sparkled with life, and for the first time, Daniel saw hope in his son's future. The bond between Maya and Leo grew beyond teacher and student. They became friends, two souls who understood each other without needing many words. Leo started to call Maya Miss Maya, but often slipped and said Maya, or even my Maya, when he was especially happy. Daniel watched all this quietly, sometimes amazed at how naturally Maya connected with Leo. He felt deep gratitude and respect for her. He often thought about how different things could have been if Maya hadn't been there that rainy day when she caught Leo before he fell. That moment had saved more than just Leo's body, had saved his spirit as Maya's studies progressed. She found herself dreaming bigger. She remembered her childhood hope of becoming a teacher, but now she knew she wanted to do more. She wanted to help children like Leo all over the city, children who were often forgotten or left behind by the school system. With Daniel's support, she began to sketch out plans for a special learning center, a place where kids with disabilities could come to learn, play, and grow without feeling different or less than others. At the same time, Maya's personal life was also changing. Living in her new apartment gave her a sense of independence she had never felt before. She could finally invite her sister Amina over, cook meals, and share stories about her days at university. They laughed more and worried less. Yet despite all these changes, Maya remained humble and kind. She never forgot where she came from. Every week she returned to the diner, sometimes just for a cup of coffee or a chat with the staff. The place that had been her second home was still close to her heart. Daniel noticed all these changes. He could see Maya blossoming not just because of the money or the opportunities, but because she had been given a chance to believe in herself. For the first time in a long time, Daniel felt hopeful not just for Leo's future, but for Maya's as well. One day, Daniel invited Maya to a meeting with his team of doctors and therapists. They wanted to discuss Leo's progress and plan next steps. Maya was nervous. She wasn't used to formal meetings or fancy offices, but Daniel reassured her. "You're part of this team," he said. "Your voice matters." During the meeting, Maya spoke confidently about Leo's daily routines, his moods, and what activities helped him the most. The doctors listened carefully. Bet they were impressed by her insight and dedication. One specialist said, "Maya has become Leo's anchor. Her presence makes a real difference." After the meeting, Daniel and Maya sat in his office. He looked at her thoughtfully. "You've done more for Leo in these few months than anyone else has in years," he said. "Want to support your dreams, too. Whatever you want to do next, I'm here." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. "For everything?" Daniel smiled. "It's just the beginning." The months passed and Leo's progress amazed everyone. He took his first assisted steps with braces, something doctors had doubted possible. His speech improved slowly, and his confidence soared. He started to participate more in school activities, and even made a few friends. Maya was there for every milestone. She celebrated each small victory with joy and patience. She never pressured Leo, always letting him move at his own pace. One afternoon, Leo surprised everyone by climbing a few steps on his own. Maya clapped and cheered. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. He had spent a lifetime searching for this moment. Maya's life was changing too. Her classes were going well. She earned top marks and praise from her professors. She balanced her studies and work with grace, fueled by a new purpose and passion. With Daniel's support, Maya started volunteering at local community centers, helping other children with disabilities and their families. She shared her story openly, inspiring others to believe in hope and kindness. Her dream of opening a special learning center began to take shape. She wrote proposals, met with education officials, and gathered a small team of volunteers. Daniel helped with funding but insisted the project remain Maya's. One day, Daniel invited Maya and Leo to a charity event he was hosting. The event was to raise money for children's education programs. Maya felt nervous but accepted. At the event, Daniel gave a speech. He spoke about his journey as a father, the challenges he faced, and the unexpected gift Maya had given him and Leo. He spoke of kindness, hope, and the power of believing in others. Maya listened, feeling proud and humbled. After the speech, many guests approached her, offering support and praise. Maya realized how far she had come from a waitress struggling to pay bills to a woman inspiring a room full of people. That night, as Maya and Leo left the event, Daniel said quietly, "You're changing lives, Maya, including mine." Maya smiled. "I couldn't have done any of this without you." Daniel shook his head. "No, you did it yourself. I only helped open the door." Maya looked at Leo, who held her hand tightly. She knew their journey was far from over, but for the first time, she felt ready for whatever came next. Her life was no longer about just surviving. It was about living with purpose, hope, and love. And it all began with a simple act of kindness on a rainy day. Out headings, just as you requested. Time had passed since Maya first met Leo and Daniel at the small diner. What started as a simple act of kindness had grown into something much bigger than anyone expected. Maya's life had changed in ways she never dreamed possible. But it was not just Maya who changed. Leo blossomed. Daniel grew as a father, and a whole new chapter began for all of them. Maya had settled into her new routine perfectly. Her days were full but joyful. In the mornings, she attended her college classes, studying to become a special education teacher. The knowledge she gained in those classrooms filled her with excitement and hope. She learned new ways to help children. Like Leo, new methods to teach and inspire, and new ideas about how to build a better world for kids with disabilities. In the afternoons, Maya was with Leo. She helped him with exercises that slowly improved his strength and coordination. They worked on his speech too, practicing new sounds and words, celebrating every small success. Maya was patient, understanding that progress was not always quick, but that every little step mattered. Leo was growing stronger. His steps became steadier, his voice clearer. More importantly, his confidence soared. Where once he was shy and quiet, he now laughed freely and tried new things. Sometimes he surprised everyone by standing without help, holding on to furniture, or Maya's hand. Those moments filled Daniel's heart with a joy he had never known. Maya's role in Leo's life was more than just teacher or helper. She was a friend, a guide, a light in his world, and Leo loved her dearly. But Maya's life was also changing beyond Leo. With Daniel's support, she had moved into a small, comfortable apartment near her college. She no longer worried about rent or bills. She could focus on her dreams. She invited her sister Amina to live with her sometimes, and they shared laughter, meals, and stories. For the first time in years, Maya felt safe, supported, and free to dream. One evening, Daniel invited Maya and Leo to his mansion for a special dinner. The house was warm and welcoming. There were candles on the table and soft music playing. Daniel wanted to thank Maya in a way that was more personal than words could express. After dinner, Daniel spoke quietly. "Maya, you have given Leo a chance at a life filled with hope and happiness. You caught him when he was falling, but you also lifted us all." Maya shook her head gently. "I only did what anyone with a kind heart would do." Daniel smiled softly. "You are rare, Maya. You see people, not just conditions. You believe when others doubt, care when others ignore. And for that, I am grateful." Maya's eyes glistened with tears. She had never imagined a life like this. That night, as Maya and Leo prepared to leave, Leo hugged Maya tightly. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice stronger than ever. Maya held him close. "Always, Leo." Back at her apartment, Maya sat quietly, thinking about how far she had come. She remembered the diner, the place where she had been just a waitress, struggling to survive. Now, she was a student, a caregiver, a friend, and a woman whose life had been touched by kindness and faith. She thought about her sister, her family, and the children she wanted to help. Her dream of opening a special learning center was closer than ever. Daniel had promised to help, but Maya knew the work was hers to do. She wanted to create a place where children with disabilities could feel safe, loved, and empowered. A place where families could find support and hope. Weeks turned into months. Maya worked tirelessly. She wrote proposals, met with officials, and gathered a team of volunteers. Slowly, the dream took shape. Community leaders and educators began to notice her passion and dedication. Donations started to come in. One day, Maya stood before a group of parents and children at a local community center. She spoke about hope, courage, and the power of believing in every child's potential. Her words were simple but filled with deep meaning. Every child deserves a chance, she said. No matter what challenges they face, they can grow, learn, and shine. We just need to give them the right support and love. The crowd listened, moved by her story and her heart. Meanwhile, Leo continued to improve. He started attending a special school, part-time, making friends, and learning new skills. He enjoyed sharing stories about Maya with his classmates. Maya's influence gave him strength, and his success inspired others. Daniel watched all of this with pride and gratitude. He often said, "Maya didn't just catch my son, she caught my hope." On a warm summer afternoon, Leo surprised everyone. He stood on his own for a few seconds, then took a few shaky steps toward Maya. She held out her hands, tears streaming down her face. "You did it, Leo," she said, her voice full of joy. Leo smiled broadly and said, "My Maya helped me." Room erupted in applause. Daniel joined in, his heart full. He hugged Maya tightly and whispered, "Thank you for everything." Maya smiled back. "No, thank you." Life was no longer about struggle alone. It was about love, growth, and new beginnings. Maya's story spread beyond their small circle. Local newspapers wrote about the waitress who changed a billionaire's son's life. News channels interviewed Maya, highlighting her kindness and dedication. But Maya remained humble, always crediting Leo's courage and Daniel's support. Her special learning center officially opened a year later. It was a small building filled with bright colors, books, toys, and laughter. Children of all abilities came to learn and play. Families found comfort and hope. Maya stood at the entrance, greeting everyone with the same warm smile that had once greeted Daniel and Leo in the diner. One afternoon, as Maya closed the center, she found a small note pinned to the door. It read, "Thank you for catching my son. You changed his life and ours." The note was from Daniel. Maya folded it carefully and smiled. She had never imagined that a single act of kindness could grow into a lifetime of love and change. But she had caught a boy when he was falling, and in doing so, she had caught her own future.